When the king of Egypt learned that Abram had lied to him concerning the relationship between Abram and his wife, the king was angry and asked Abram, verse 18 of chapter 12 actually. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why did you say she is my sister? So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go away." The silence of Abraham shows his realization of how far he had fallen. Now receiving reproof from a pagan Pharaoh, Pharaoh then sends Abram away. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. Pharaoh sent Abraham away for the protection of his country and peace of his nation. Abraham was different. He was accompanied by divine favor. If you wrong Abram, if you touch Abram, you will be plagued. Even Pharaoh himself knew that Abraham was not where he was supposed to be, and so God sends him back to where he ran from, just like he sent Jonah to Nineveh, where he was running away from. No matter how we may plan to run away from God, God will still bring us back. God has 1,000 ways in which to bring us back in his mercy. But also we see in Pharaoh great leadership skills here. He foresaw that separating himself from Abraham was the only way to pursue peace. And later we shall see how Abraham also uses this same technique or this same skill to solve his own problems. Verse 1 of chapter 13 says, "And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journeyings from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord." We are told in verse 4 that Abraham called on the name of the Lord. After all that he had been through, after realizing how weak he was without God, he comes back to the heart of worship and acknowledges that it's all about God. It's all about Jesus. Abram was very rich. He was very heavy, so the Hebrew word is, "For riches are a burden, and they that will be rich do but load themselves with thick clay." Habakkuk 2 verse 6. There is a burden of care in getting riches, fear in keeping them, temptation in using them, guilt in abusing them, sorrow in losing them, and a burden of account at last to be given up about them. Yet God, in his providence, sometimes makes good men rich, and thus God's blessing made Abram rich without sorrow. Proverbs 10 verse 22. Though it is hard for a rich man to get to heaven, yet in some cases it may be. Nay, outward prosperity, if well managed, is an ornament to piety and an opportunity for doing more good. Abram removed to Bethel. His altar was gone, so that he could not offer a sacrifice, but he called on the name of the Lord. You may as soon find a living man without breath as one of God's people without prayer. That's from Matthew Henry. Because of increased possessions, there arises contention between Lot's servants and Abram's servants. And there was a strife between the headman of Abram's cattle and the headman of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelled then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, "Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we are brothers." Great skill is shown here in how Abraham solves this problem. Even though he was the one with authority over the land, he humbles himself and lets Lot choose which side he should take. Here the noble and selfish spirit of Abraham was displayed. How many under similar circumstances would at all hazards cling to their individual rights and preferences? How many households have thus been rent asunder? How many churches have been divided, making the cause of truth a byword and a reproach among the wicked? Let there be no strife between me and thee, said Abraham, for we be brothers, not only by natural relationship, but as worshippers of the true God. Thank you so much for listening, and hope to see you tomorrow as we continue to study the Word of God.